Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of lecture 15. We are in week 8 and let's start by talking about what we are trying to achieve in this video. Now in our last video, we already established and we already talked about how having an orthonormal basis for a space is much more convenient for us and much easier to use than if we had an arbitrary basis which is not orthonormal. So we know that orthonormal basis is better than not orthonormal basis. So the next step naturally is going to be, if we are given a norm, so the next logical step naturally is going to be, if we are given a basis V which may not be orthonormal, let's just say this is an arbitrary basis, it would be great if we could convert this basis into a new basis which is orthonormal, right? So that is the goal of this lecture. Given a basis V which may not be orthonormal and convert it into a new basis for the same space, which means the new basis U is going to span the exact same space as the old basis V, but the new basis U is also going to be orthonormal. So that is our goal. Given a basis V, convert it to U, where U is an orthonormal basis. Alright, so before we go into the equations and formulas and everything, let's first talk about the very simple intuition that works behind this process. The intuition is actually very simple. So I thought it would be better if we understood that first before going into the formulas. So I'm going to talk about two-dimension here throughout the video, but please keep in mind that all the logics and all the reasonings also apply to any higher dimension, say 3-dimension or 4-dimension or even 9-dimension or 900 dimension, doesn't matter, the same things apply, but explaining it in 2-dimension is just much more easier to understand and also easier to deliver for me. So let's start. What you can see on the screen right now is two vectors, and these two vectors create a basis for the two-dimensional space R2. But as you can see, the angle between them is not 90 degrees, and I think judging by the length, you can assume that the length is not equal to 1. So we can say that this basis is not orthogonal, and if the basis is not orthogonal, it cannot be orthonormal anyway. So let's make it orthonormal. All right. So the first vector here, V1. For now, just forget about the vector V2. So V1 is all right. V1 is, there are no other vectors in this basis right now because we forgot about V2 temporarily. So we don't have to change the angle of this because this is the first vector. It can be anything it wants. But we have to normalize the length. We have to make the length equal to 1. So how do we do that? We divide the vector by the length of its own. So if we do that, our V1 is going to be transformed into U1, the first vector of the orthonormal basis. We are just making the length 1, right? The angle is same. We did not change anything else. We just divided the length so that the new length is 1. All right. So done with the first vector. Now let's look at the second vector here. The second vector here is V2, which has a problem. This is not the only vector in the basis. We have U1 already. We have established U1. And the problem is, this vector is not at 90 degrees with U1, which is problematic because we don't want that. Now, how to solve it? Well, if you recall anything from high school physics, you know that a vector, we can write a vector as a sum of two other vectors or a sum of several of its components, right? So we can say that V2 here is the summation of this vector and this vector, all right? So if you recall, we used to call it Lombo Upangsho. We are dividing the vector V2 into two of its components which are perpendicular to each other, right? All right, so let's bring back So write this vector v2 as a summation of these two components. Now let's bring back this v2 to the origin. This is just a better representation. The same thing, just a better representation. All right. Now, as you can see, we don't need this portion, the v2x part, because this part is already covered by our first vector of the basis, u1. Anything on this line is being taken care of u1. We don't need this portion. We only need this portion because u1 has no effect on this portion. We need this part. This part is essential. This part of v2, the second vector, this part is essential. This part here is redundant because u1 already covered this part, right? So we can just keep this portion and just get rid of this because we don't need this. This is redundant, right? But if you notice, this portion right here, v2x, what is this? This is just the projection of v2 onto u1, right? So we can write v2x as the projection of this vector v2 onto u1. So this is the projection of this vector onto this line, right? So we just need v2y. We want to keep this part because this part is perpendicular to our first vector of the basis, and we want to keep only that portion. We want to get rid of this portion. So if we rearrange this equation, we can write it like this. So v2y is going to be the vector v minus this redundant portion. So we are eliminating the redundant portion from our original vector v2. Now, if you notice, we already have the orthogonal vector, right? u1, and let's call it w, right? That would be easier. Instead of v21, we are calling it w. So we have u1 and w2. We have our orthogonal basis. Forget about this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We have u1. We have w2. We have an orthogonal basis. The only problem is this is not orthonormal yet because the length of w2 is not 1, right? Is not 1. How to do that? Well, we can just divide this vector by the length of its own. And if we do that, if we divide it, the length is going to be 1, and then we can call it w2 instead of, sorry, u2 instead of w2. And as you can see, we have our orthonormal basis. We have u1 and u2, both of them have length equal to 1, and they are perpendicular with each other, right? If this was in 3 dimension, if we had a third vector, we'd do the same. We'd take v3, and from that we'd eliminate the projection onto u1 and u2 because those are redundant. The projection of v3 onto u1 and u2 would be already covered by u1 and u2 itself, so we just get rid of that, and whatever so the projection part and whatever we are left with would be w3, which would be orthogonal to both u1 and u2. And if we made it orthonormal by dividing it with its own length, we'd get a 3-dimensional orthonormal basis, right? So I think that how it works, how the process works, and the intuition behind it is pretty clear. So let's look at the formulas now. I think you'll be able to grasp the formulas much more easily now. All right. So this is the Gram-Schmidt process. The input is a basis v with, let's say we have, this is an n-dimensional space. So the basis has n vectors, and we are saying that these vectors are not orthogonal to each other. So basically the basis v is not orthogonal or orthonormal. And we want to produce the output, the basis u, which span the same space as basis v, but the basis u is going to be orthonormal, just like what we did in our last slides using 2 dimension. Alright, so let's just draw these tables to keep our work a little organized. So let's take the first vector here. Alright, v1. v1 is alright. v1 is, we don't have any other vectors in our basis yet. v1 is our first vector, so we are just going to let it be as it is. The only adjustment we have to make is that the length of v1, because the length of each of these vectors has to be 1, and the length of v1 is not 1. So how to make the length of v1 1? Well, if we divide the vector, by the way, I just omitted the vector sign, just assume everything is a vector. All right, so if we divide the vector by the length of it, so the length of this is going to be 1 and the direction is going to be the same. So basically we are scaling it, right? So we got u1, so we have the first part of our output ready. So let's look at u2. So for u2, we are going to take v2. Now v2 is not perpendicular with v1, right? We have already established that v2 can be not perpendicular with u1. So we are going to get rid of the part that is not perpendicular with u1, right? Just like our last example. If you're confused here, just go back a couple of minutes and you will see that we did the same thing in our last example. So we are just eliminating the projection part, the projection of v2 onto our already existing existing vector, because we don't need this. This portion is already covered by u1, so we are just subtracting it. Whatever we are left with, this part is going to be perpendicular with u1, because everything that is not perpendicular with u1, we already got rid of that, right? So we got rid of that. And the good thing is, as u1 is orthonormal, the projection equation is very simple. We don't have to divide it by the length of u1, because the length of u1 is just 1, right? So this is our formula, which will give us w2, which is orthogonal to u1. What is the one step remaining? We have to make the length of w2 1, right? The length of w2 has to be 1. So just like this, we're going to divide it by the length of its own, and we are going to get the second vector in our basis. Similarly, for w3, we are going to take v3, get rid of its projection on u1, because this part is covered by u1 already. This part is covered by u2 already, so we are getting rid of that. Whatever we are left with is going to be perpendicular to both u1 and u2, right? Similarly, as both are orthonormal, the projection formula is very simple. So if you calculate that, you are going to get u3, which is orthogonal to u1 and w3, which is orthogonal to both of these vectors. The only step that is remaining is to make it orthonormal, and we can do that by dividing it by its own length. So we get w3, and so on. So if you get 3 vectors, so if it's a 3-dimensional space, you will get just v1, v2 and v3. Up until this would be enough. If you get 4 dimension, the basis will have 4 vectors up to v4, so you'll have to keep doing it one more step. So w4 is equal to going to be v4 minus projection of v4 onto u1, projection of v4 onto u2, projection of v4 onto u3, and you will get w4. If you divide it by its own length, you are going to get u4, and it goes that way, right? So you get the picture. Now a solid example would make it even more clear, so I'm going to have someone upload an example video for you, but that is the first lecture of week 8. I hope that was helpful. So yeah, and in our next topic, all right, so the slide went blank. In our next topic, we are going to talk about the least square problem. Until then, goodbye.